Ladies and gentlemen, today is August 9th. 69 years ago this day, an atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. To pray for the repose of the souls of the deceased atomic bomb victims, to encourage the survivors who will still suffer from the after effects, and to pray for the realization of a peaceful world without nuclear weapons, we will now hold the 69th Nagasaki Peace Ceremony in the presence of honored guests and attendees from Japan and abroad. I am Aina Kubota, the third-year student at Kasui High School. I am Mabune Fukazawa, third-year student at Kasui High School. As members of the young generation who will succeed in Nagasaki's aspiration for peace, we will serve as masters of ceremonies. Now, the bell of Nagasaki is tolling for peace. Lists of the atomic bomb sufferers who were confirmed dead during the past year will be laid to rest in the memorial cenotaph by Mr. Shinji Hamada, representing the bereaved families, Mr. Naoto Nagata, representing the atomic bomb survivors, and the mayor of Nagasaki City. The list contains 3,355 names, bringing the total number of victims and those who died in the subsequent years to 165,409. The chairman of Nagasaki City Council will give his opening address. Opening address. Today, at the 69th Nagasaki Peace Ceremony, with the attendance of Prime Minister Abe, our esteemed guests, atomic bomb survivors, bereaved families, and citizens of Nagasaki, I would like to begin by expressing my deepest condolences for those lost in the atomic bombing. At 2 minutes past 11 in the morning on the 9th of August, 69 years ago, a single atomic bomb exploded in the sky, instantaneously destroying Nagasaki and taking many precious lives. Even today, the survivors carry wounds that will never heal and continue to suffer from the after effects of the bomb and from fear and unease. The number of those in Japan who possess an atomic bomb health handbook has now declined to less than 200,000 people. The average age of these survivors is approaching 80. Whilst there is growing concern for passing on their experiences, NGOs and people from around the world gathered last November for the Nagasaki Global Citizens Assembly for the elimination of nuclear weapons. At the assembly, the survivors spoke of their earnest desire for a peaceful world free of nuclear weapons. In response, the young generation showed a positive attitude towards shouldering the responsibility for achieving that goal. This exchange gave me confidence that the survivors' wishes are being passed on to the next generation. Next year, the Nobel Prize-winning Pugwash Conference will be held in this city. I hope that 70 years after the atomic bombing, those scientists from around the world who wish for peace will send a strong nuclear abolition message from Nagasaki. Today, here in Nagasaki, we must join together and once again resolve to realize a peaceful world free of nuclear weapons. In closing, I would like to again share my condolences for those lost in the atomic bombing and pray for the good health of all atomic bomb survivors and bereaved families. Kazuo Genjo, Nagasaki City Council Chairman, the 9th of August, 2014.
Water offering. Water will be offered to the souls of the atomic bomb victims. 69 years ago this day, the atomic bomb victims who got their skin and flesh burnt raw asked for water as they breathed their last. The clean water for offering was collected from places around the city where the victims searched for water, including the inner temple of Anakobo in Ebira, Nishimachi, Nishiyama, Mitsuyama, and from the Spring of Peace in the Peace Park. The water will be offered by Ms. Harue Yoshida, representing the atomic bomb survivors, Mr. Toshiyuki Suminaga, representing the bereaved families, Miyu Nakata, representing senior high school students, Hoshino Isobe, representing junior high school students, and Masanori Myoyo, representing elementary school children. flower offering. Mr. Suehiko Matsui, representing the atomic bomb survivors. Ms. Hitomi Takamori, representing the bereaved families. Mayor of Nagasaki City and the Speaker of Nagasaki City Council will offer fresh flower wreaths. Our honored guests are now invited to offer flowers. Mr. Shinzo Abe, the Prime Minister of Japan. Mr. Masaaki Yamazaki, the President of the House of Councillors. Mr. Hirotaka Akamatsu, the Vice Speaker of the House of Representatives. Mr. Nobuo Kishi, the Senior Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs, on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Mr. Norihisa Tamura, Minister of Health, Labor and Welfare. Mr. Akihiko Mihara, representing the Liberal Democratic Party. Mr. Banri Kaieda, representing the Democratic Party of Japan. Mr. Natsuo Yamaguchi, representing New Komeito. Mr. Toshihide Muraoka, representing Japan Restoration Party. Mr. Koichi Yamauchi, representing Your Party. Mr. Fumiki Sakurauchi, representing the Party for Future Generations. Mr. Keiji Kokuta, representing Japanese Communist Party. Mr. Jiro Ono, representing Unity Party. Ms. Yasuko Komiyama, representing People's Life Party. Mr. Tadatomo Yoshida, representing Social Democratic Party. Mr. Hodo Nakamura, the Governor of Nagasaki Prefecture. Mr. Toshikatsu Watanabe, Speaker of Nagasaki Prefectural Assembly. Mr. Kazumi Matsui, Mayor of Hiroshima City. Mr. Noriaki Usui, Speaker of Hiroshima City Council. Mr. Shuzo Miyagawa, representing the atomic bomb survivors in Hiroshima. Mr. Noboru Kiketsu and Ms. Tazue Komatsu, representing the families of atomic bomb victims in Japan. Mr. Koji Sekimizu, representing the International Maritime Organization. Her Excellency Ms. Caroline Kennedy, Ambassador of the United States of America. His Excellency Mr. Yusron Isra Mahendra, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia. Her Excellency Mrs. Mira Martinez, Ambassador of the Republic of Croatia. His Excellency Mr. Estefanos Afeworki Haile, Ambassador of the State of Eritrea. Mr. Osamu Takeuchi, Mayor of Hirakata City, representing the National Council of Japan Nuclear-Free Local Authorities. We will now invite representatives of the attending organizations to offer flowers.
It is almost 2 minutes past 11. We are going to pause for a moment of silent prayer for the souls of the atomic bomb victims and for peace. Ladies and gentlemen, you're kindly requested to rise.
Mokto.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. The mayor of Nagasaki City is going to deliver the Peace Declaration to the world. The copies of the declaration will be sent to the heads of all UN member states and to the local governing bodies in Japan. The declaration will also be sent out through the internet to all corners of the world. Nagasaki Peace Declaration. At this precise moment, 69 years ago, the sky over this hill was covered with a pitch-black nuclear cloud. A single atomic bomb dropped by a United States bomber blew away houses and engulfed the city in flames. Many fled for their lives through streets littered with charred bodies. 74,000 precious lives were lost to the terrible blast, heat rays and radiation. A further 75,000 people were wounded. Those who narrowly survived were inflicted with deep mental and physical wounds that will never heal, even though 69 years have now passed. Today, there are more than 16,000 nuclear warheads in existence. The Hibakusha, atomic bomb survivors, who personally know the horror of nuclear weapons, have continued to desperately warn us that they must never be used again. The Hibakusha and their appeal have prevented the repeated use of nuclear weapons since the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What would happen to the world if nuclear weapons were to be used in war today? In February, the second conference on the humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons was held in Mexico. There, representatives of 146 states examined the impact of nuclear weapons from various perspectives such as the human body, economy, the environment and the climate. Their findings revealed just how inhumane these weapons are, and they made terrifying predictions regarding the consequences of a nuclear war. Not only would it be impossible to save the injured, but the advent of a nuclear winter would cause food supplies to run out This means that more than 2 billion people around the world would starve. Nuclear weapons are a continuing danger that threatens the present and future of our entire world. The terror that they bring is not confined to Hiroshima and Nagasaki's past. The nations which are focusing on the inhumanity of these weapons have begun to consider treaties such as the Nuclear Weapons Convention, which would have them banned. However, nuclear weapon states and those that are under a nuclear umbrella have been unable to relinquish the idea that they can protect their national security with nuclear weapons. They are attempting to postpone the ban. If we cannot overcome this opposition, then next year's review conference of the parties to the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, or NPT, which is held every 5 years, will come to nothing. I appeal to the nuclear weapon states and to all states that are under a nuclear umbrella to take the first step in overcoming this conflict. I ask that they create a forum for discussion with those countries which seek to legally ban nuclear weapons. Please discuss what has to be done and by when in order to realize a world without nuclear weapons. As the country that best understands the inhumanity of nuclear weapons, I ask the government of Japan take the lead in these efforts. One regional method of protecting the future from nuclear war is the creation of nuclear weapon-free zones. Currently, more than half of our Earth's landmass is already covered by such a zone. I suggest that along with enacting the 3 non-nuclear principles, Japan should investigate a plan for the Northeast Asia nuclear weapon-free zone. This would be one method for protecting the Republic of Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and Japan from nuclear weapons. The leaders of more than 500 Japanese local governing bodies support this concept, and this circle of agreement will continue to grow. Due to the debate over the right to collective self-defense, there are currently many opinions being exchanged regarding ways to guarantee Japan's national security as a nation of peace. Nagasaki has continued to cry, "No more Nagasaki" and "No more war." The oath prescribed in the Japanese constitution that Japan shall renounce war is the founding principle for post-war Japan and Nagasaki, a country and a city which suffered the atomic bomb. The Hibakusha have continued to communicate this principle of pacifism by speaking of their personal experiences. However, the rushed debate over collective self-defense has given rise to the concern that this principle is wavering. I urgently request the Japanese government to take serious heed of these distressed voices. In Nagasaki, young people are thinking about nuclear weapons for themselves, conducting discussions and initiating new activities. Our university students have begun spreading networks overseas. Our high school students have collected over 1 million signatures for a petition, which they presented to the United Nations calling for the abolition of nuclear weapons. These high school students have a motto: "We are weak, but not powerless." These words remind us that civic society, which is made up of many individuals, is a source of great strength. As a member of civic society, we, Nagasaki, will increase the number of our partners and continue our activities towards realizing a world free of nuclear weapons. We will join forces with NGOs and cooperate with the UN and other countries that share our goal. Citizens of the world, let us give the next generation a world without nuclear weapons. 3 years have passed since the accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant operated by Tokyo Electric Power Company, Inc. Even today, there are many people being forced to live their lives in unease. Nagasaki continues to provide various forms of support to Fukushima in the hope that the region will achieve full recovery as soon as possible. Next year will be the 70th anniversary of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As the Hibakusha continue to age, we desire support befitting their present situation, such as improvement of the recognition system for atomic bomb diseases. We pray that between now and the 70th anniversary, we will make great advances towards our goal, which is shared by all peace-loving people to achieve a world without nuclear weapons. We also offer our most heartfelt condolences to those who lost their lives to the atomic bomb. I declare that together with the city of Hiroshima, we shall continue to strive to achieve the abolition of nuclear weapons and to achieve everlasting world peace. Tomihisa Taue, Mayor of Nagasaki City, 9th of August, 2014.
Pledge for peace will be made by Ms. Miyako Jodai, representative of the atomic bomb survivors. Pledge for peace. The endless ringing of precautionary warnings and air raid sirens began mid-June in 1945. I was 6 years old at the time, and I couldn't sleep without the reassurance that my air raid hood was beside me. That evil siren rang just as I had slowly awoken on the morning of the 9th of August. With my grandmother's tense voice calling, "It's the air raid siren! Today we must get to the mountains," we made our way to the air raid shelters in Tateyamamachi. They were directly behind where the Nagasaki Junior High School now stands, midway up Mount Kompira and 2.5 kilometers from the hypocenter. However, the enemy planes didn't come. A voice cried, "All clear!" And many people and children dashed out from the shelters whilst they still could. But at that moment, the B-29 bomber, which was carrying the atomic bomb, had infiltrated Nagasaki airspace. I had just returned home from the air raid shelter. My next-door neighbor, Tommy, yelled from outside, "Mia, let's go play." In that instant, there was a flash in the sky. I have no recollection of anything after that, what had happened or what had happened to me. A while later, I was rescued out from beneath our floorboards. Tommy, who had called to me from outside, was not injured. However, she suddenly passed away after having become a mother. In a single blast, humans stopped being humans. Even if they could somehow survive, many atomic bomb survivors, or hibakusha, lost their lives when symptoms of radiation disease suddenly appeared later on. I was fine, however. I lost my little granddaughter, a third-generation hibakusha. I couldn't help but sorrowfully agonize over whether she would still be alive if I myself had not been a hibakusha. Humans are powerless against the fearsome invisible radiation which was brought by the atomic bomb. Now, I am determined that we must eliminate these inhumane nuclear weapons from the face of the earth as soon as possible. In order for us to achieve this, the speedy realization of a nuclear weapons convention is essential. Japan, the only country to have suffered a nuclear bombing, has a duty to be a world leader and to stand at the forefront of this abolition movement. However, is the government of Japan fulfilling that role? Doesn't the approval of collective self-defense say that the use of military force will create peace for Japanese nationals? Japan will be able to engage in war. Will it protect Japan from armed attack? And production of weapons and exporting weapons will be the beginning of the war. War begets war. History proves that. Please, do not threaten our young people and children who will shoulder Japan's future. Please guarantee peace. Please do not forget the suffering of the Hibakusha and pretend that the atomic bomb never happened. In Fukushima, there are those who still cannot return home due to radioactive contamination from the nuclear accident. They have no choice but to live in temporary housing or to evacuate elsewhere. There are children and their families who are suffering because they have been told that their child has thyroid carcinoma. Under these circumstances, is it really acceptable that we restart the operation of nuclear power plants? After all, we still do not know how to dispose of nuclear wastes. Instead, we should be looking into decommissioning the nuclear reactors as quickly as possible. As survivors, we Hibakusha are using what remaining time we have left to desperately pass on our experiences of exposure to nuclear weapons. Even first-year elementary school children and nursery school children listen carefully to what we have to say. We speak from the bottom of our hearts with the reasoning that we must not send these children to the battlefield or involve them in the horrors of war. Citizens of Nagasaki, nay, people of the world, please draw close to the hearts of the Hibakusha and pass on the truth of exposure to nuclear weapons so that we never again repeat such foolish actions. Let us together seek true peace for Japan. As a Hibakusha, I make a pledge for peace that as long as I have strength, I shall continue to pass on my experience of exposure to the atomic bomb. Miyako Jodai, atomic bomb survivor representative, August 9th, 2014. Children's chorus. The song title is Anoko, meaning that child. Yamazato Elementary School near the Hypo Center was mercilessly destroyed in an instant. Most of the teachers and children fell victim to the atomic bomb. Dr. Takashi Nagai composed and dedicated this song to the children of Yamazato, wishing that such a tragedy would never recur. The 6th grade children will sing this song, which has been passed on to the children of Yamazato Elementary School.
Honored guests are now invited to make an address. First, Mr. Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, is going to take the podium. Here today, on the occasion of the 69th Nagasaki Peace Ceremony, I reverently express my sincerest condolences to the souls of the atomic bomb victims. I also extend my heartfelt sympathy to those still suffering from the after effects of the atomic bomb. On this day, 69 years ago, a single bomb deprived more than 70,000 people of their lives. It destroyed the homes of 120,000 people with its furious fires and blasts. Those who survived were forced to endure unspeakable hardships of illness and disabilities, as well as difficulties in their daily lives. We had to live through severe suffering from an atomic bomb, not just once, but twice, and yet we endured pain and sorrow to stand up again and to rebuild a homeland, restoring beautiful streets of Nagasaki. This is the day not only to honor the memories of the victims, but also to express our gratitude for our forebears, for the enormous efforts and achievement that they made. As the only country in human history to have experienced the horror of nuclear devastation in war, Japan bears a responsibility to bring about a world free of nuclear weapons without fail. We have a duty to continue to convey the inhumane nature of nuclear weapons to the next generation and to the world. Last year, at the high-level meeting of the United Nations General Assembly on nuclear disarmament, I declared my determination to achieve a world free of nuclear weapons. The draft resolution on nuclear disarmament submitted by the government of Japan had more than 100 co-sponsor states for the first time and was adopted with an overwhelming majority. Working towards the early entry into force of the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, Japan is also advancing realistic and practical nuclear disarmament by directly urging the heads of state and government of relevant nations to ratify the treaty and through other such efforts. In April this year, the Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative Foreign Ministers meeting was held in Hiroshima. From the site of an atomic bombing, our message was sent out powerfully to the world. Next year, the 70th year since the bombing, will be a milestone. And also next year, the review conference of the parties to the Treaty to Non-Proliferation Nuclear Weapons, NPT, which is held once every 5 years, will be convened. We will further advance efforts to realize a world free of nuclear weapons. There are individuals who are still waiting in pain and suffering to be recognized as having an atomic bomb disease. At the end of last year, the government revised the criteria for granting recognition, bearing in mind the discussions held by relevant persons over 3 years. The government will continue to make sincere efforts to enable more people to receive such recognition as soon as possible. This morning, as we mourn the souls of the victims in Nagasaki, I pledge that I will redouble my efforts to carry out these duties. I would like to conclude with my heartfelt prayers once again for the repose of the souls of the victims. I would also like to extend my best wishes to the bereaved families and to the atomic bomb survivors. I will close my address with a pledge that Japan will firmly uphold the three non-nuclear principles and spare no efforts in working towards the total abolition of nuclear weapons and the realization of eternal peace of the world, so that the horror and devastation caused by nuclear weapons may never be repeated. Shinzo Abe, Prime Minister of Japan, the 9th of August, 2014.
Mr. Hodo Nakamura, the Governor of Nagasaki Prefecture. On the occasion of Nagasaki Peace Ceremony, I offer my heartfelt prayers to the deceased victims of atomic bombing, together with the residents of Nagasaki Prefecture. 69 years ago this day, a single atomic bomb exploded above the city of Nagasaki. The horrendous blast winds and heat rays, together with a massive amount of radiation, instantly destroyed and burnt down all things, turning Nagasaki into a hell on earth. 74,000 people lost their precious lives, and those who managed to survive sustained incurable scars on their minds and bodies. But thanks to the all-out effort by many survivors and those who supported them, Nagasaki, which was once a burnt-out ruin, has recovered and developed into a beautiful city abound with greenery and aspiration for peace. However, the grief of those who lost their beloved families is still so deep and has not been eased. The average age of the atomic bomb survivors is approaching 80, and they continue to age. The 70th anniversary of the atomic bombing next year will be a major milestone for Nagasaki. Nagasaki Prefecture will work with the national government and step up its effort to improve the support measures for the atomic bomb survivors, including the speedier screening and validation of the operation status of the new screening policy. We, the residents of Nagasaki Prefecture, have been telling the world of the inhumanity of nuclear weapons for many years. In October last year, the Japanese government finally supported the joint statement on the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons at the United Nations General Assembly. We welcome the Japanese government's effort and look toward a better future. Existence of nuclear weapons, which can annihilate the mankind many times over, is a major threat to the future of mankind. Under no circumstances should the use of nuclear weapons be accepted. I ask the Japanese government once again to make all possible efforts as the only country that has suffered nuclear devastation by spearheading the international community's move towards realizing a world without nuclear weapons. At the ministerial meeting of Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative held in Hiroshima in April this year, world political leaders were encouraged to visit atomic bomb-scarred cities. It is our sincere wish that those leaders of the world will visit Nagasaki, witness the inhumanity of nuclear weapons with their own eyes, and work with us to abolish nuclear weapons as soon as possible. In Nagasaki, we have devoted our efforts to tell the realities of atomic bombing and send a message of peace to the world by holding atomic bomb exhibitions and dispatching high school students as peace ambassadors. In November last year, Nagasaki hosted the 5th Nagasaki Global Citizens Assembly for the elimination of nuclear weapons, at which many local organizations joined hands with the local governments in sending the message of peace to the world. With our wish to make Nagasaki the last place to suffer a nuclear attack in mind, we will convey to the people of the world the horror and inhumanity of atomic bombing and call for the abolition of nuclear weapons and realization of lasting world peace more strongly than ever. Now, the great East Japan earthquake in 2011 has left deep scars on the affected region because of the radioactive substances from the failed Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Many people are still forced to endure life as evacuees. I urge the Japanese government to speed up the recovery process and to take all possible measures to avoid similar accidents at other nuclear power plants in Japan. This day, August 9th, is an unforgettable day for the residents of Nagasaki Prefecture. It is not only the day of prayers, but also the day of pledge to vow never to allow the world to have a nuclear devastation for the 3rd time. I hereby offer my words of prayers to the deceased victims of the atomic bombing, wishing the survivors and those affected by the atomic bombing residing in Japan and abroad good health, and with strong conviction and aspiration, vowing to make further efforts to achieve the abolition of nuclear weapons and everlasting world peace. Hodo Nakamura, Governor of Nagasaki Prefecture, August 9, 2014. Telegrams and messages from various sources are posted on the board on the right side of the entrance of the ceremony venue. Please have a look at them.
The song, 1,000 Paper Cranes, is going to be performed in chorus. The song was produced in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the atomic bombing. The lyrics written by Kanae Yokoyama of Chiba Prefecture was chosen from among many applied for the nationwide lyrics competition. The music was made by a composer from Nagasaki City, Michiru Oshima. Today, the first and second year students of Ms. Oshima's alma mater, Junshin Girls Senior High School, are here to sing the song. The choir will be conducted by a teacher of the school, Kayoko Matsumoto, accompanied by Makoto Uchida on the keyboards. Mr. Uchida has been playing music as background for today's ceremony.
Bye.
With the Peace Declaration, as the wish of Nagasaki citizens, we will renew our resolve to continue our efforts towards realizing lasting world peace. We sincerely thank our honored guests and attendees for their cooperation in the smooth proceeding of the ceremony. This concludes the peace ceremony commemorating the 69th anniversary of the atomic bombing of Nagasaki.